Hey guys, it's Jess from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my February wrap-up. I read 24 books this month. Before I get started, I'm gonna look at my viewfinder. I got a light because I film with natural lighting, but I have glasses, and so I can't film directly in front of my window, and I can't film with like a direct light, and so I do have a light over here now with my window over here. Let me know if it looks okay or if I need to continue playing around with it. I don't know. I think it looks fine. I'm no longer shadowed over here. I've been on YouTube for 4 years and I've never gotten actual lighting before, so let me know if it looks fine or if I need to change some things around. But I'm here with the 24 books I read, so I have a lot, and so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. January was probably the longest month of my life. I was like, how is it still January? The first book I read, I have 3 books that I started in December that I finished the beginning of January. That's why I read so much in this month, and the first one was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I think that's how you say the last name. I started this on New Year's Eve, read so much of it, and finished it up on the 1st. This one I read for the video where I read BookTuber's favorite books of 2019. I will link that vlog down below if you want to check it out. This one is a thriller about a psychologist who's obsessed with this woman who, well, her case and how she killed her husband and has not spoken since, and they were like a loving married couple, and he's determined to get to the bottom of it. That's all I can say, and it was okay. It was pretty boring throughout the way through, and the ending was like kind of shocking, but it made complete sense, and I like endings that really shock me that I did not see coming, and right before we got it I was like, oh, that's it, and I wasn't too surprised. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I think it's because it took so much to get to that shocking ending, and I need an interesting book the whole way through and not just for the end. So 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was for review, and that is Release by Ali Martinez. This one is about a woman who, it starts out where she meets her neighbor, I guess, when they're in elementary school, and they become best friends with his sister as well, because I think they're new to town, and they meet on the day that her mother passes away, and her dad really detaches himself because he was just, it was the love of his life just died, and he can't really figure out how to move on from that, and she's really alone, and so she just connects with this boy. She hates him, but she also likes him, and so they become best friends, and we know at the beginning of the book that he has been in jail for like 10 years, I want to say, because of her, and we get the story of how they became best friends and then eventually in love with each other and dating, and then what happened to make him go to jail. And he cut off all communication while he was in jail. He was like, you need to go and live your life and not wait for me, and basically said he didn't love her just so she'd move on. And so it's their romance, and it does have a lot in the past and a lot in the present when he's released from jail. So it was really cute. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. There was a lot in the past though, so didn't really read too much like an adult romance. It was more a lot of YA mixed with adult because we got to see them fall in love when they were younger. It was definitely shocking in some parts, especially why he went to jail and secrets about why he went to jail. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, it was really entertaining. I do like Ali Martinez. If you like that kind of romance, check it out. Then I listened to Hold You Close by Corinne Michaels and Melanie Harlow. I do own this in paperback, but I listened to the audio on Audible Escape, and this one's about a girl and a guy who absolutely hate each other. We get a flashback to when they are, I believe, 18, or at least she's 18, and they have one night together, and she's like, I've liked you for so long, it's finally happening, I'll go to college with you, I'll like put my dreams on hold. And the next day he's hooking up with another girl, completely heartbreaks her, and she is actually best friends with his sister. And we flash forward quite a few years, and the sister actually passes away with her husband, and they leave behind 3 or 4 kids and name Ian, the brother, as the caretaker. And he is just this like playboy, party boy, owns a club, has girls in and out of his house. He has like multiple rooms where there's like mirrors on the ceiling and chains on the ceiling, and so he is like, I can't have kids in here, and he has to take them in, and he's determined to prove he can. And the best friend, our main character, is like, why wouldn't they name me the person who takes care of them? And they end up taking care of the kids together and falling in love. I think I gave this like a 3.5 stars. It was really cute in the beginning, and then it was just like passing the time. There was nothing like super entertaining about it, or like I had to keep on reading, so it was really 3.5. The romance was fine, the kids were adorable, but I was just like, okay, that was nice. The next book was my favorite book of the entire month, and I don't know what I've been doing with my life because this has been out for 2 or 3 years. And that's Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. My book club at school with my students, we picked this book and it was so freaking good. I think you all know it has to do with a band of thieves who come together to steal a person from the unbreakable jail cell. So it was so good. I have not read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, the Grisha trilogy, so I don't really understand like what Grisha are, but this book I felt like I was fine. I think if I read that beforehand I would have enjoyed this more, probably because I was just learning who the Grisha were, because we have a main character who is Grisha, but there were three romances that I was just like, can you guys just get together already? Oh my gosh, I loved it. It's not a romance, but like there were people that liked each other but like didn't want to admit it. So good. And Kazzy and Nej are just like OTP. Seriously, the ending of this book was crazy, and we got the heist like halfway through and the rest of the book was the heist, which I really appreciated. I don't like it when movies or shows or books have a heist element and it doesn't happen until like the last like 10% of the story. Half the story was actually executing the heist. I love this so much. I'm gonna read book 2 soon. I can't believe I didn't read this until now, but it was definitely 5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read for that Best Books of 2019 video, and that is A Lesson in Thorns by Sierra Simone. This was a gift from Riley, and I read it because it was Riley's favorite read of 2019, one of her favorite reads. And this one's polyamorous, so we have a group of 5 people, 6 people, 3 girls, 3 guys, who all kind of have a thing for each other, and all at one point kind of like get with one another in some way. And it is surrounding Thorn Chapel, which is this just old, atmospheric, spooky chapel on this estate, and we get a flashback of when they're young and their parents are all there together, and then we flash forward to when they're all together in their like mid to late 20s, I think. And our main character, Poe, is a librarian, and she is trying to uncover everything about Thorn Chapel, and they are preparing for this kind of ritual together. And I loved Poe's relationship with everybody in this book. It was so good, and I do think I wanted more mystery that was revealed and more that had to do with the actual plot of Thorn Chapel. That's why I gave this really high 4 to 5 stars, but I think this definitely surrounded more the romance and the relationships and not actually why they were there, which is what I wanted. But it was so good, so unique, and I could not recommend this enough. I'm nervous about book 2. I have not picked it up yet. I'm meeting Sierra in May at the signing in Nashville, so I'll probably buy it then and read it then. The next book I listened to on audio from Audible Escape, and that was Lies by Kylie Scott. This one I picked up, I don't even know why, I've just seen it around and I knew it was different for Kylie Scott. It was about a woman who is in a relationship and it's just fine. Like, she's just fine in her relationship. The guy she's dating is just like fine, average, and she figures out he's actually a spy. So she's like, literally, I think they're engaged, and she's like, why am I getting married to him? Like, we don't even know each other. And so she breaks it off with him, and then her apartment blows up and she figures out he's a spy. He's really this ripped, gorgeous guy, and he has so much personality and is the opposite of the guy she was engaged to, and so they do shenanigans together. And it was pretty unrealistic in some points. I think I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5. It was okay. I just feel like a lot happened, and I was like, how did that just happen? And how can she, who's never held a gun before, shoot someone in the middle of the forehead when she wants to kill them? Obviously, you're supposed to suspend your disbelief in these kind of books, but it was good. I was just like, this is kind of really not how things happen, but 3.5. It was entertaining. Then from the library, I picked up Middle Game by Shauna McGuire. I read this as Kayla from Books and Lala's favorite book of 2019, and it's sci-fi. It's about Roger and Dodger, who are manifested twins. They're like created in a lab, and they're supposed to be able to do this special thing. I still don't know. I gave this 3 to 5 stars. It was very long. I want to say it was 500 pages, and most of it was just following Roger and Dodger's life. And then we finally, near the end, get to, oh, these are the bad guys, and this is what's going down. And like, I don't understand a lot of the plot. It left me very confused. And I know people love that in books. I personally don't like being confused in books. So I gave it 3 to 5 stars. I was pretty bored through a lot of it. I would like find myself counting the pages until the next part. I think they're like 5 or 6 parts, just to feel like I was accomplishing something and seeing how much I had until like I felt accomplished. So it was okay. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then for that same video, I picked up Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I actually listened to this on audio, and this is Haley in Bookland's one of her favorite books of 2019. I give this 5 out of 5 stars. Oh my gosh, like obviously. It's Christina Lauren. There are only a few that I haven't enjoyed. This one I loved. It is about a girl who, we get a flashback to when her mother passes away, and so her mother leaves a lot of things for her father to do for her, and they end up getting a lake house cabin thing that they go to a lot, and she ends up befriending the guy next door, and it's just like the awkward ins and outs of a relationship building when you're a teenager and you're like, I don't know, are we something more? I don't know, but I don't want to talk about it, but I kind of like you and I kind of don't. Are we something? I don't know. Are you seeing other people? Am I? I don't know. And so it was just like so quirky and adorable of them falling in love, and they both love to read together, and she has this closet that's her library, and they sit in there and read, and then like as they get older it kind of becomes more like intimate, like oh my gosh we're like alone, and before it was like oh we're alone because we're friends, and then it's like oh we're alone. Like it was so cute. And then we flash forward to the present day where she is actually I believe engaged to someone, and something happened where they have not spoken in like 8 or 9 years, 10 years, and it's because of something, and then you figure it out at the end. I do think he needed to do a lot more groveling. So it almost got a 4-star because of how quickly we passed over what he did to make her not want to talk to him anymore, but it was so good. I loved it so much. 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Dig by A.S. King, which was for that same video, and it was because Kayla loves it from Books and Lala and Chandler loves it from Chandler Ainsley. This one was way out of my comfort zone. So like this whole video that I did was books I normally wouldn't pick up except for Christina Lauren and Sierra Simone. But the other ones I normally don't pick up, and this one I don't even know how to describe it. Like these people are from potato farmers, and we just follow a bunch of characters, and it's definitely a look at life, and that's all I can say. I was so confused when I started it. I was like, what the heck is this book? But I pushed through. I was like, okay, fine. Like, I guess it's like fine. And I wasn't really like impressed with anything. But the ending and like what A.S. King was doing and like the message and just how everything wrapped together, I was like, mind blown. So I gave it 4 stars because like for 80% of the book I'm just like, what am I reading? And then 20% I was like, oh, that's what it is. So 4 out of 5 stars. Definitely if you want something that's unlike anything else, you have to pick up that book. The next book I picked up was Forever My Saint by Monica James. This is book 3 in the All the Pretty Things trilogy, and I read this on audio. I didn't know it was on Audible Escape. I got the first one as a gift, I think, on ebook, and then the author sent me books 2 and 3 as an ebook, but I take forever to read ebooks because I have too many I need to read. So I saw it on Audible Escape and I downloaded it, and this is book 3, so I can't tell you too much about the plot other than it starts out with a girl who's kidnapped on her honeymoon to be sold as a sex slave virgin to this mafia guy, and she's starting to fall for her captor called Saint. And so this is book 3. It wraps up their story. I give it 4 to 5 stars. I still liked 1 the best because book 2 and 3 kind of really move in a different direction, and it's very action-packed, and she's in love with Saint, so that's all I can say. I enjoy the series. I highly recommend it. The next book I have an entire reading vlog for, and that is Credence by Penelope Douglas. This one is, I can't even explain it. A girl her parents die, and she's 17, she's almost 18, and so she moves to the woods with her uncle? It's her dad's stepbrother and his 2 sons, and she has relations with all 3 guys, and you don't know who she's gonna end up with. I have all my thoughts on that reading vlog, so go watch it. I gave this one a 4 to 5 stars. I did not like some of the characters. I wanted her with someone specifically, and I think that it's interesting if you have a character fall for 3 different people, how you have to build up those relationships, and I don't think Penelope Douglas built them up enough for me, and it was a wild ride. That's all I can say. If you want to, read it yourself. Then I picked up Whatever It Takes by Kristen Becca Ritchie. I have a review for this, which I will link down below. This is Willow and Garrison's story. I was sent a copy by the authors to promote on my Instagram, and Willow is related to Lo from the Addicted series, and so I guess this was on Wattpad, I think, and then they publish it as a duet. I've only read the first one. The second one's already out, and Willow and Garrison meet when Willow decides to come and try to be part of Lo's life, and Garrison is his next door neighbor, and he's just on the wrong track, and Lo ends up giving him a second chance, and they kind of fall in love. Willow and Garrison do, and this is dual timeline, so it takes place when they're falling in love and when Willow is in London in college, and she left and Garrison's struggling. And so this was really touching and heartbreaking. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I do think it was more of a build up to book 2, but I enjoyed it, especially if you love the Addicted series. You have to check out this duet. Next, I read The Forbidden Man by Karina Halley. It used to be called The Younger Man, and she changed the title, and I do think that the title is better because the main conflict in this is that it's really a forbidden romance and not the fact that he's too young. They do talk about age, but it's really more the forbidden aspect. I read this for the Ravished by Romance book club. I will link our live show down below and our Instagram if you want to join up with our book club that I have with Lacey and Sarah. And this one is a forbidden romance between a girl who is a trainer, I think she's 38, so she's a woman, who is a soccer trainer and like a physical trainer, right? Physical therapy, whatever that is called. And she is leaving her previous team because she has divorced her husband because he cheated on her, and he was the coach of that team. He had a high up spot in that team. I believe he was the coach. And so she had to leave because she's like, I just can't anymore. And she goes to Madrid for their soccer team, and instantly the 23-year-old soccer player is like, girl, I want you. And he is just so suave and just a ladies' man and very romantic. I mean, he's Spanish, and so I loved every aspect of this book. Obviously, there is a no-no between staff and players, and so she can't do anything about it, and she is 15 years older than him, and she's like, we are at completely different parts in our lives, but this book was everything. And we also get the coach who was in the Love and English series by Karina. She had 2 books, Love and English, Love and Spanish, and I loved seeing them. I read Love and English years ago and loved it, and so I'm glad she went back to the world. I love how it was in Europe. I loved everything about this book. 5 out of 5 stars. Probably my second favorite book of the year behind Six of Crows. Then I read Cold Hearted by Winter Renshaw on Audible Escape, and this is a hockey romance, kind of. It's about a girl who has a brother, I think it was a half brother, that she never knew, and when she reached out, he didn't want anything to do with her, so she never got to speak to him or anything, and then he passes away unexpectedly, and she is listed in his will, and she goes to collect. And he was a famous hockey player. He actually died in the car with his best friend's girlfriend because they were having an affair behind his best friend's back, and so his best friend is devastated, who is also a teammate of his on the hockey team. She ends up meeting him, and he doesn't know who she is. Nobody knew that she was his sister, and they have a relationship, and she never discloses her true identity. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay. Past the time, nothing super special or important. I was also annoyed with her for never telling him who she was, because it was just this thing hanging over us as readers, knowing it's gonna come out soon, and when it does, you know what everybody's reaction is gonna be, so it was just okay. The next book I read was Marriage on Madison Avenue by Lauren Lane. This book has been everywhere lately. It did just come out. I was sent a review copy from the publisher, so thank you so much to them for sending this to me. This is book 3 in the series, but it can totally be read as a standalone. It's about these 3 women who all meet because they're all dating the same guy when he dies, and so one girl is married to him and 2 are dating him, and they're all devastated. They're like, how are we played by this man? And they make a pact to protect each other. The other 2 have already found their loved ones and are in relationships, and our main character here, she swears off love. She's like, I'm never gonna find that. I don't want to trust anybody, and I don't want to hurt anybody, because she feels awful that she was dating a married man. She's like, I didn't know that. And so she has a best friend, and they always hang out together, and he needs to pretend to be engaged. His ex is back in town, and so his mom is trying to push them together, and so he says, well, I'm engaged, sorry, we ended up actually dating and we're in love, so we're getting engaged, about his best friend. And so they have to pretend to be engaged, and she's actually a social media influencer, and she's getting a spike in her audience by being engaged and like exploring planning weddings and sharing that with her audience, and so she goes along with it, and then they continue to go along with it, and then they start growing feelings, and it's super cute. Fake dating, best friends to lovers romance. I enjoyed it a lot. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was really adorable. Then I had to read Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. I teach this to my Enrich 10 classes. I'm an English teacher. I read the book along with them, so we read this month, and I would not like this book for fun, but as an analytical English literature piece, looking at imperialism in Africa, it's just really amazing. It's one of my favorite books to teach, so I'm not gonna rate this, but I read this month as well. Next, I read Whiteout by Adriana Anders. This one was recommended from Kennedy Ryan because I read The Kingmaker, and the main character in there was a researcher in Antarctica, and we had him like trying to survive, but only for a few chapters, and I was like, I want more books like that. And she recommended this, which came out, I got it from NetGalley, and it is about a researcher in Antarctica and a woman who is the chef there at their like camp base, and bad guys are trying to steal something that they found in the ice and killed everybody, and except for her and the doctor, because he was out looking at like why was things so fishy, and then they have to actually escape together and trek across Antarctica to go to another research station to be rescued. And so we have bad guys chasing them. It was like a really good action movie that I love action movies, especially 80s action movies, and this one reminded me kind of Cliffhanger with Sylvester Stallone. We're in the cold and we have bad guys chasing after us, and we're trying to protect people and things, and it was so good. I think I gave it 4 to 5 stars. I think the ending went on a little too much because I was like, oh, isn't it over? And then it had to like build up to the next book, and so it was a very high 4 to 5 stars. I could not stop reading it. Action-packed. We have just trying to survive in the Antarctic, so it reminded me of like Mount Everest kind of survival stuff, which I love. I could not recommend this book enough. I really enjoyed it. My mom's gonna love it. I already told her she has to read it. Then I decided to pick up Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moning. This is book 1 in the series, the Dark Fever series, the Fever series. I read this like 5 years ago, 4 years ago. Don't remember anything, and I want to continue with the series. It's got to do with fae and bad things, creatures. Our main character's sister is killed in Ireland, like brutally murdered, and so she goes to try to track down what happened, and she gets this weird voicemail from her saying, you don't know what you are. I didn't know I couldn't trust him, and so she's trying to figure out what happened to her sister, and she's thrown into this really bizarre world of magical creatures, and she meets Baron, who owns a bookshop, and it goes from there. Not a lot, any romance in this book. She like is attracted to Baron, but like nothing really happens. A lot happens though in this book. I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. I can't wait to continue on with the series. There's just a lot of mythical things going on and a lot of creatures, and she's got to learn everything, so we learn with her, and those are some of my favorite books, so I would recommend this. Then I have 3 audiobooks in a row to share with you because the other book I was reading during that is over 500 pages, so it took me a while. The first one was Trade Me by Courtney Milan. I listened to this on audio, and this was for the Lunar New Year readathon that Lacey and Lisa hosted to celebrate the New Year, the Chinese New Year, and I read this to celebrate that because Courtney Milan is Asian, and the main character in this book is Asian, and I listened to this on my car ride to Cincinnati. It was over 2 hours there and just under 2 hours back because it was during rush hour, and so that I almost finished the entire thing on Friday. And this one is about a girl who is really struggling in college. Her parents are immigrants, and her mother is not really great with money and will give money to other people when they need it themselves, and so she's working to the bone in college because she has to support herself and give money to her family. And she has this tech guru prodigy in her class whose father is like pretty much Steve Jobs. Like, he is the inventor and leader of this epic tech company, and so she's like, you would never know what it's like to be me and like want for money, and so they trade lives. That's what the Trade Me is about. He has to live in her apartment with her salary and her money and work, and she gets his money and has to help him with like this product launch. And so I gave this, I think, 4 to 5 stars, probably a low 4. It was good. I like the romance. I think I got lost in some of like the whole tech world stuff they were doing. I didn't really care for it, but it was a really cute romance, and I really love the exploration of her culture, especially when they go visit her parents and just see all of that, and if she feels like embarrassed by her mom because of what her mom does and says, but then she's proud of her mom and her culture, so I really liked it. 4 out of 5 stars. Then I listened to A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. This one I just picked up on audio because I've been meaning to read more Alyssa Cole, and this one's about a girl who is in college, and I think she's in a master's program, and she wants to work with diseases and stuff, and she keeps on getting these weird emails saying that like she is betrothed to a prince of Africa, and she's like in Africa, I forget what country it was, and she was like, no, like stop harassing me, and he ends up showing up and then posing as a worker with her, like accidentally, but he goes with it, and then they like start to like each other, and it reminds me so much of The Prince and Me because she doesn't know he's a prince and he's kind of lying about who he is, and then he has to say who he is, and it was good. I love the beginning, and then it quickly just became boring, and I didn't really care by the end. I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. stars, a higher 3, but still a 3. The ending, I was just like, okay, I'm just listening to get it over with, because a lot happened, and it was a lot having to do with like these diseases and stuff, and like they figured something out, and there was some scandal going on, and I was just like, this is too much. So 3 out of 5 stars. Then I listened to Blurred Lines by Lauren Lane. This was a recommendation from Brie from In Love and Words, and I will link her channel down below. Go check it out. She listens and reads a lot of romance, and this is a friends to lovers romance, and I was just so excited to get in the car on the way home every day because I listened to it on my drive home because I have a 35-40 minute commute, and it is a friends to lovers romance, and they live together, and our main character, she is in a 5-year relationship, and the guy is just like playboy, whatever, but they've always been best friends. They're like, people can be best friends and not really like have any more feelings than that. And what happens is her boyfriend dumps her, and she's just devastated, and she's like, I'm gonna put myself out there and find myself a one-night stand, but she can't stand hooking up with people she doesn't genuinely like being around. So she's like, wait, but I have a friend who loves to make me laugh and I love being around him. Why don't we just start hooking up too? And so he's like, that's a bad idea. But then they're like, well, we do like being around each other. So then they start kind of being friends with benefits, and it goes on from there. It was so, so cute. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. One of the best friends to lovers I've read. This is everything I love in a friends to lovers romance, so I would definitely recommend this one. I'm aware I've been talking forever. I have 3 books left. The next book I read was A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Mila Vane. This one comes out early February. I got a review copy from Berkeley. This is a barbarian fantasy romance. Our main character's parents are murdered by another kind of like kingdom, and he is totally devastated, and they tell lies about it and say, well, it was justified because they did these things that he knows his parents would never do, and so he sets out to get revenge on that guy by kidnapping his daughter, and it turns out his daughter hates him and has been held prisoner for her whole life and was going to be betrothed to another king, and so they kind of get together to defeat her dad, and she is actually the heir to the throne because she's a woman. I believe the women are the ones who get the throne, and she has to marry and have a child to do so, and so they're gonna get married, and he hates her because he thinks that she was the reason his parents died. Very much enemies to lovers, very angsty because neither one of them really wants to like each other, but they are aware that they're gonna have to have babies together, and so it's really good. I give it 4 out of 5 stars, a high 4 out of 5 stars. I do think it went on a little too long. It's over 500 pages. But the ending was super action-packed, and I'm very excited for the next book in the series. I believe it comes out in July, so if you like fantasy, if you like barbarians, you should check this out. Then on Kindle Unlimited, I picked up Fighting for Rain by B.B. Easton. This is book 2 in the Praying for Rain series, and book 3 has just released, so I'm going to read that soon as well. I love book 1, one of my favorite books of last year. This one picks up after the cliffhanger of book 1, and it is now post-apocalyptic, so the date of the apocalypse has passed. That's all I can say, and it is about Wes and Rain. And I will say this one was good, but there was a lot of like moping around on Rain's part because of something, so I was kind of annoyed that like 40% of the book was just her being sad and not doing anything. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I wanted a lot more action and crazy things like book 1, so I'm pretty sure we'll get that in book 2. And I was really annoyed with Q's character. Oh my god, I was like, can someone just like kill her already? Honestly, because she needs to leave. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that book. 4 to 5 stars. You should read the series. And the last book I just finished yesterday is The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. I was sent this copy for review from the publisher, so thank you to them. This one is about a woman who it is her wedding day. She's a wedding planner, and her husband, fiance, breaks it off and says, you know what, no, I can't. And it's all because of his brother. He texted him saying, thanks for the talk. I realized I can't marry her. So everyone knows that his brother's the one who talked him out of it. She's devastated. We flash forward 5 years, and she is working to earn this wedding planner position at this prestigious hotel. And Max and Andrew, the brother and the ex-fiance, are working on that case for the hotel, and so she has to team up with Max in order to earn her position, and she hates Max's guts because he's the reason why she is not married right now, and so it's their enemies to lovers romance, and it was super cute. I did end up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. The ending was kind of boring. Like after the enemies part was over, I was just like, okay. I like my enemies to lovers to be enemies for a while. If it ends too quickly, I lose interest pretty quickly. So it was still a really fun read. 4 out of 5 stars. I would recommend it. And that is my wrap up, 24 books later. I'm sorry this is crazy long, but I read a lot. So let me know down below if you read any of these and what your thoughts were and what your favorite book of the month was. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.